All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in Rickcast Reviews. We are doing our box office breakdown for the weekend of the 15th through the 17th. No new releases this week, so it's kind of just this is pretty normal for August, as it is the dumping ground. Although it looks like it's had two pretty decent films that have come out. Weapons being the hot film of this month. It is August, and Nobody 2, which I enjoyed. You can check out my review down below in the video section for Rickcast Reviews. But let's get right into it. I'm going to give you the breakdowns, talk about the cinema score, and what the idea, what the forecasts were versus what happened in the actual numbers. Kind of give you an idea of how this whole thing is playing out. Expectations versus reality, essentially. So let's get into it. First, let me give you a breakdown of what happened this weekend. Weapons, $25 million, 42% drop, which is absolutely fantastic for any film, not only just a horror movie. Horror movies usually do not have a less than 50% drop. So the word of mouth on this, and they actually expanded to 248 additional theaters. So Weapons is already broken 100 million. Might really it could clear 200 million, especially if this film has the momentum that it has going into the supposed spooky season in September, October. If I was the distributor of this actual film, if I was Warner Brothers, I would just let it ride through October. Because there's not going to be anything that's really going to knock it out. And if you're a theater and it's still bringing people in, I would just keep it. You already made your money on it, so you might as well just let it sit there and just try to make as much money as possible. They probably won't. They'll probably drop it on digital at the beginning of September or some stupid thing like that. But that's how I, Rick Barrett, would do it. Freaky Friday came in second. I didn't expect it to. Surprisingly, not a bad drop, 49%, which shows that it has decent enough legs for a film that I didn't think was going to do that well. I thought it was going to drop 60% at least, because who is asking for this film? Who is looking for this film? But wrong on that one. And unfortunately, I was wrong on Nobody 2, coming in at 9 million. We're going to look at the previews here in a second. Not as great as I had hoped. That probably ties into the cinema score. Nobody 2 has a B+ cinema score. I enjoyed the film. I really did, but I guess I'm the small minority of people that enjoyed Nobody 2. But B+ is not what you're looking for. You want A- is the worst you want to have if you want to have some decent legs. Now, it's also August, so that's maybe why they dropped it when they did, because it may be able to leg out a pretty decent overall run. Budget's $25 million on Nobody, and if they can leg it out through the rest of the month, they may be able to break even on it, unfortunately. But so that's your numbers right here. Of course, Fantastic Four, First Steps, $8 million. Bad Guys 2, 7.5, which is a 29% drop, which is really good. Superman, which is dumped on digital for stupid reasons, because James Gunn doesn't have an idea of what he's doing over there, comes in with $5 million. Naked Gun with 4. Jurassic World, people are still making money on that. And then F1 was re-released, as the saying goes, back in the theaters on a lot of premium screens, so it benefited with a nice spike of about 2.6 million. That's about to drop on streaming pretty soon as well. And then finally, 2 movies that I've never heard of, Shin Godzilla and Cooley, whatever. That rounds out your top 10. Not a great top 10 as far as what you want to see from the weekend box office. You're not even making 100 million. If you're the distributor, if you're the actual theater owners, this is not what you're looking for. You're looking for a little bit. You're hoping Nobody 2 gives you a much better showing in that, because from my opinion, Freaky Friday and Weapons did their job. They held very well. You wanted Nobody 2 to be in the upper range. And what do I mean? So the forecast had Weapons at 22 to 28, so it came in right at that $25 million mark, as I predicted. which is a really good sign for this film. Freakier Friday, they said 14 to 18, and it came in right at the low end, right at that low end at 14. So the forecasters got this one right in that regard. They blew the opening weekend. I thought it was going to make much more money in the opening weekend than it did. But this second weekend shows that at least, hey, it did. It's got a hold on the people that like it. Maybe there's a lot of repeat business on that. And then finally, you had Nobody 2, which actually, my prediction, I thought it was going to do around 13. I thought it was going to beat the expectations. But Nobody 2 performed in the top end of what the forecasters were looking for. So Universal Pictures has to be happy with that, because that is on the high end of what the forecasters were predicting. Now, the forecasters always try to manipulate the data before it comes out to get these positive wins. Obviously, you want your film to come in somewhere where The Naked Gun at the beginning of the month came in around 15. You want to break double digits when you come in with a brand new film. So coming in at 9, it's not great. It's right where the forecasters had it going. And it's at least they can save face with this. They can say, well, we at least were able to come in on the higher end of the expectations. It's not great. You would have liked to at least break 10 million. And now really with that B+ cinema score and a soft opening, I'm going to say 9 million is a soft opening. They're hoping that this film holds well. We'll see next weekend if the film holds or if the film's DOA. Once again, not made for a lot of money, but then that the studios that are making it, Universal's backing it, so it'll be all right as that regard. It'll probably be fine on VOD, and they'll probably be able to package it with John Wick and a couple in the Ballerina and sell it to Tubi and a couple of other places as well. Because that's where I found Nobody. I found the original film Nobody on streaming, and that's really where the audience for Nobody is. It's on streaming. So good for them releasing it. The film looks like it's going to hold up okay as far as what it's looking to do. Came in right on that higher end of those forecasts. Would have liked to see it break 10 million, but outside of that, you're not really looking at much else. It's a quiet weekend here. And as far as forecasting is concerned, there's really nothing coming out in the next week that is of notice. Once again, the beginning of August is okay. Guardians of the Galaxy, Signs, films that are beloved come out in the beginning of the month of August. The first weekend of August has a pretty good track record of being a sleeper, if not a solid opening release weekend. So if you're the studios, Naked Gun opened up around expectations, Weapons exceeded expectations, Freakier Friday is on the borderline of your expectations. At least it held well. Nobody 2 is holding right where they would want it to make more, but it's at least on the high end of their estimations. So after this, the rest of this month is gonna just be really, really bland, really bland, and that's not good because the summer was bland. And really, the big story of this summer, we'll talk about this real quickly, is Fantastic Four: First Steps and the death of the superhero billion-dollar film. Pre-COVID, pre-coof, you had billion-dollar films being dropped by Disney and by DC, right? Aquaman made $1 billion. Wonder Woman made pretty close to $1 billion. So they did happen. Post-COVID, in our new theater streaming landscape, this is the high end. This is the high end for these films. I know I should have prepped this before, but give me a quick second here. Just look at something like Fantastic Four is at 487. Thunderbolts is at 382, and then we'll do Captain America: Brave New World. Not America, Brave New World. I know, I type well. So these are the last 3 Marvel films. The last 3 Marvel films. Captain America, 415. Thunderbolts, 382. And that was probably the most well-received out of all 3. And then Fantastic Four: First Steps, 468. You're looking at a new landscape for superhero movies. Superhero movies are $500 million and that's it. So you could say Superman is a success. 591, maybe into the sixes. Unfortunately, that one cost about 220 and then another 200 on marketing. So that one, if they had kept that budget to 150 and marketing to 100, yeah, you might have been able to squeeze out a little bit of a profit. But they were spending money hoping to really wow people. And in our new viewing market, our new habits that we have viewing films, yeah, it got the money that you could expect out of a superhero film. Marvel, on the other hand, still thinks they're in the habit of dropping billion-dollar films because these budgets are not what, oh, well, they'll tell me like the budget was 200. Marketing's at least 150. So you're looking at 350. And that total, remember that 468, the studio's maybe getting 55% of that. Somewhere between 40 and 60, depending on the distribution rights. So 468, that's lost money. Thunderbolts, the budget was pretty tight on that one. Still, it couldn't even crack 400 million. And then Captain America, riding the success of the Captain America name. It's the most recognizable of these three projects. Couldn't do more than 415. Now, of course, that was because that film was butchered to death. But still, it was just not what the studio was hoping for. They couldn't even get 500 million out of that. So Marvel is in a pretty bad predicament. The theater going experience is in a pretty bad predicament because Hollywood now has to face the new reality that they have to drop these budgets. And they refuse to think that they're just one film away. They're almost at this point like a gambling addict. I'm just one hit away from getting to $1 billion. Lilo and Stitch made $1 billion. Lilo and Stitch, A, was a streaming movie that they realized would actually make money, so they slapped it together and put it on the film. And B, that's a one-off. Minecraft didn't even crack $1 billion. It came close at like 960. So the age of the constant $1 billion film, you may get $1 billion film a summer. But if your film gets 500 to 600 at this point, you gotta thank your lucky stars. And you have to drop your budgets accordingly. You can't make films for more than 100 million, maybe 150, because you got to factor in those marketing costs as well. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of the box office breakdown here on Rickcast. Y'all do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you like the breakdowns, we try to do them every Monday as we talk about how the box office is recovering in the post-2020 era. And not looking great. Not looking great. They all said, just got to wait to 2025. Now I guess we're waiting till 2026. Marvel's betting the farm on, Avengers Doomsday. There's no buzz. The last 3 films flopped. It's not looking great for them. Warner Brothers' strategy of trying to shift their budgets down, they're actually doing pretty well. Sinners was a win. Weapons was a win. There was a couple other films that have been released by Warner Brothers this year that have been wins. Hold on a second. Was Warner Brothers a part of F1? It was either Warner Brothers or F1 that helped co-finance that film with Apple Studios. Let me take a real quick second here. Just want to give you an idea of the run that you have going on right now with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers under David Zaslav is actually doing pretty decently in this regard. So it looks like we don't have who actually dropped it. Fantastic. But it looks like it's either Universal or I think it is Warner Brothers. Now this is going to bug me, so you're going to have to stay with me. If not, if you already checked out, I get it. But I just really need to see who produced this. Apple Studios. Oh, we're not really Plan B. All right. Well, I guess we're not getting anything on that. Fine. Keep your secrets. We'll find out eventually. All right, folks. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here on the box office breakdown here on Rickcast. I'll talk to y'all later. You stay classy, internet.